This happened over a year ago and it still bothers me. I work in a department store and have to deal with drunk customers before staggering around the store and even trying to start pillow fights with me. But there was this one guy who terrified me. I'll start this by describing myself. I'm around 5'11" and kinda chubby, but by no means fat. I'm a little big and not easily intimidated by most people. My hair is red, but my bangs and 2 streaks of my hair are a green-teal color. On this day in particular, I wasn't wearing a full face of makeup. Honestly, I think all I had time to do was some eyeliner, and I've got the unfortunate baby face. So this guy, I'd say about 6'2", walks up to me and asks if I can help him. He's got a slight accent, but I can't even place it. Kinda like an English accent, but it was just off. He's got grayish-white hair and a goatee. I'm not that great with age guessing, but he was at least old enough to be my dad, if not my grandpa. He's also what I'd describe as husky. A little fat, but overall just generally big. At least twice my size. He's also wearing a thick coat, but it was an unseasonably warm and sunny day without a cloud in sight. He starts asking me about men's clothing, but he's talking under his breath, so it's hard to hear. So I lean in to hear him a little better. I think he's just asking where that department is, so I proceed to point him in the direction of the men's department. Then I hear him mumble something else. This time about young men's, sounding displeased. Oh, if you're looking for young men's, that's in the front corner of the... He cut me off mid-sentence and his whole demeanor changed. He raised his voice. What, do I look like a young man to you? What are you, like 15? Then I watch as his eyes scan me up and down, almost as though he were checking me out. As if that outburst hadn't even happened, he starts calmly mumbling again, and I can't quite make out what he's saying. All I hear is that he's talking about my hair. It was like he was thinking out loud, but didn't realize it. Then he says he has to use the bathroom, but once he's done, he wants me to help him find a dress shirt and that he wants it to match my hair. I politely say okay and give him a fake laugh and smile, not knowing what else to do. As soon as he starts to walk away, I bolt to the other end of the store. I was panicking already because that encounter was just uncomfortable, so I'm trying to avoid him when a couple asks for my help. So I'm helping this couple, and they of course drag me back down to the end of the store where this guy is still waiting. In that time, one of my coworkers had the pleasure of talking to him for a moment, but he told her he didn't need any help. He was just standing there. So I'm helping the couple still, and I walk past him and he kinda shouts at me in an angry tone. It was quiet enough, but also too loud to be mistaken for a normal indoor voice. He said something along the lines of why was I ignoring him even though I had agreed to help him. That's when I really noticed his size and the way he shifted his body as he took a step towards me. I felt like he was threatening me, and I knew if he lunged I wouldn't stand a chance. I tell him I wasn't ignoring him and I was just helping someone else. I hand off the item the couple was looking for and direct my attention to him as he is waiting less than 5 feet behind me. I honestly didn't know what else to do. My body screamed run, but my head said that if you do, something bad is going to happen. He told me he had already looked at shirts and didn't find what he wanted. So then he asks if I'll walk him to the front doors. Alarm bells are going off in my head. I don't want to get too close to the doors with this guy because who knows if he will grab me and drag me out into a waiting car or something. My heart was racing, but then I thought, my manager is in the front of the store at the jewelry counter, and if I walk the guy there, I'll still be safe. He will be able to see the exit from there, but he won't be close enough to be able to kidnap me easily. So I walk up with him and we're walking next to the bras and the aisles are kinda small. I realize he keeps trying to walk next to me, but the aisles are way too small for him to walk next to me without us touching. So we are weaving in and out of the fixtures in the center aisle, me trying to avoid him and him trying to stand next to me. He then starts to laugh. He mumbles some more, something about that it's funny that we're weaving in and out of the aisles. I'm thinking this is not funny at all. He proceeds to ask me why I dyed my hair. I look at him and say, I don't know because I felt like it, I guess. Then he asks how old I think he is. I reply with an I don't know. He then asks me again about 5 seconds later. I repeat, I don't know. He doesn't even tell me how old he is and he tries to ask personal questions. He asked my middle name. I pause. The look he gave me was of pure frustration, so I gave him my middle name. He repeated my first and middle name back. I shuddered. My mom says it when she's mad, but him saying it actually scared me worse. We finally reached the front of the store. He asked me to take off my glasses. I slipped them down for a second, not even uncovering my eyes, and pushed them back up real quick. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to do. My training never covered this sort of a situation. I was terrified of what he might do should I refuse him. My instinct was telling me to oblige, so as long as what he asked was somewhat harmless. After I did that, he says, "Aw, yes, your eyes are as beautiful as I thought they'd be." I'm confused. Is he hitting on me? Didn't he just say I looked 15? What the fuck? We get to the front of the store, and then he asks me if I knew why he wanted me to walk him to the front of the store. I honestly tell him I don't know. He starts giggling to himself like a schoolgirl. If you've never heard a grown man giggle, well, let me just tell you, it's unsettling. He says, "Oh, you probably just think I'm a crazy old man." In my head I'm screaming, "Yes, now get the fuck away from me." But I feel if I say yes, he's going to hurt me. Then he says, "I wanted you to walk me to the front because I just wanted to spend a little more time with you." I'm standing there like I don't even know this guy. This guy doesn't even know me. Why does he want to spend more time with me? I want to get away from him. My manager walks by and I shoot her the most horrified look, and she just smiles and waves, completely oblivious. Then he follows that up with, "You know, sometimes the war just brings people together." He reaches into his jacket and grabs a hold of something. Then he quickly adds, "And sometimes he takes them away." He still had a hold of whatever was in his jacket. My heart sinks and I'm thinking, this is it. He's got a knife or a gun. He's going to murder me and drag my body out and stuff it in his trunk. He follows that up with another, "You probably think I'm a crazy old man." I pause to think on that and I respond with a seemingly thought out, "No, not really." He then lets go of whatever he had a hold of in his coat and draws his hand back out. He looks at me intensely, then after several seconds of awkward staring, he says, "And now I'm going to leave and probably never see you again." I'm like, thank fucking God. He turns to leave but whips his head back around and says, "But if I do happen to come back, don't call security on me." As soon as he walked around to walk out the door, I ran to the back office to hide. My legs felt like jello, but I kept moving as if my life depended on it. I was then escorted to the back of the store to wait until they could confirm that he was indeed gone from the store. I waited for about a half hour before I went back out to finish my shift. When my shift ended, I waited around a half hour more so I would be able to walk out with someone else. The woman I walked out with had also encountered him by the register while I was hiding on the other end of the store. She proceeded to tell me that she thinks he was drunk. I'm still currently working at that same place and I haven't seen him since, and I hope I never do again. I was around 6 months pregnant and working at a retail store in a large mall. Our store was a corporate store, so there was some really heavy traffic through it. During some downtime, I told my coworkers I was taking a bathroom break. Unfortunately, the restrooms were on the second floor of our store towards the back in the furniture section, which was hardly ever busy. I worked in the women's section in the bottom floor right near the door that entered the mall itself. I rushed into the restroom because, holy crap, this baby is crushing my bladder. Instantly, I felt like something was wrong. Nobody was in the restroom as far as I could see. No feet in the stalls and no one coming in or out. There were no other restrooms nearby, so I brushed it off and did my business. The entire time I could feel the hair on the back of my neck standing up. I didn't even bother to check my phone. Something was wrong. As quickly as I could, I washed my hands and dried them. The entire time I was standing at the mirrors near the sink, I felt as if someone was watching me. Now at this point, I'd been working at this store for over a year. Never before had I felt so off. I left and went back downstairs to the section I worked in. When I arrived, I heard over the walkie-talkie that there was an accident in the women's restroom. I felt uncomfortable but went back to work as usual. Later, my coworker told me what happened. My manager, a tiny sweet Pakistani woman, went into the women's restroom. She was alone. As she went to wash her hands, a man rushed out from another bathroom stall straight towards her. Thankfully, she had her walkie-talkie on her and immediately called for help. The guy panicked, ran out of the women's restroom, through the store and out into the mall. As far as I am aware, he was never caught. It sends chills down my spine that while I was in the restroom, this guy was hiding in there. I'm guessing that he saw I was pregnant and decided not to attempt to assault me. I'm so thankful that he didn't harm my manager or anyone else, but it's really creepy nonetheless. I work at a retail store and I detest my job with all my heart. And because I was a dumb shit and said I'm always available, they routinely fuck me over and put me at nights. But I whine and bitch and moan and digress. I'm okay working nights since I get to see my boyfriend when he picks me up. Boyfriend usually gets off at 10:30 p.m. but he doesn't leave until around 11, so most nights I'd have to wait for him. On top of that, he has to make a 10-minute drive, so I'd have to wait an hour and 40 to 45 minutes, which didn't bother me. He'd call to tell me he was coming and make sure I was still alive. Earlier in the week, an Uber driver kept asking me if I was someone named Lenore. I told him no and he did it again, but this time he kept asking if I was sure. How the fuck am I not gonna be sure of my name? Fortunately, my boyfriend pulled in and honked at me, causing the Uber creep to speed away. I'm a paranoid penny, so this made me wonder if he'd been watching me and knew my boyfriend always came late. And then I tweaked out since I keep getting these weird phone calls from some telemarketing agency, but when I answer, no one is there and they hang up. Is it connected? Is the government watching me? Do I have 7 days left to live? Fast forward 3 days later, I'm standing there listening to music, waiting for him to call me and pick me up. He finally does and starts cracking a joke about how he's glad creepy Uber didn't answer. As we start shooting the shit and joking, this Indian woman comes up to me. I don't hear her at first since I have noise-canceling headphones. She gets closer and keeps calling to me. Finally she yells, "Hey!" I look over at her and smile and go back to talking to my boyfriend. She does it again and I excuse myself. "Hi, can I help you?" "Do you need a ride?" she asks me and looks. Nice enough, but something just didn't settle with me. Her car is parked at the stop sign and there's someone else in it. "No, my friend is coming for me, thank you." I notice that there's a man in the driver's seat and that she isn't wearing a uniform from either of the stores near us. She begins to ask again, "Are you sure? I can give you a ride. Do you need a ride? Get in. Do you need a ride?" I begin to feel a little uncomfortable and my preschool don't get in a stranger's car training kicks in. So I politely decline and go back to talking to my boyfriend. "So, are you close?" "Just pulled out, I'll get there, just stay on the line." "Is that woman gone?" No, she wasn't gone. In fact, she was standing 6 feet away watching me, and she looked annoyed. I told him in code that no, she hasn't left. She has in fact remained there leaning on the car just watching me, and she is looking angrier with each passing second. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the man tell her something and she looks right at me and begins interrogating me. "Friend not here, do you need a ride?" "Where friend? He probably forgot you." "That's okay, we give ride. It's cold. Get in, tell us where you live, we drop you off. Do you need ride?" At this point she begins to get closer to me. I try to avoid her by moving to the farther end of the plaza strip. "Honey, yeah, so about my sister. Well, she's gotten closer, but I'm pretty scared she's too far away from home. Something might happen. Hurry so I can tell you." I say in code as the car drives up. Now she looks pissed. "Get in the car now. We give you ride. Get in now." At this point she opens the car and begins trying to get me inside, pulling me and yanking on my jacket. She's a taller and bigger woman, so she tries to pick me up. At this point I'm about to shit myself and I'm screaming and kicking and wiggling. Meanwhile I can hear him yelling at me that he's coming and that he's calling the police. Now my mind is running 1,000 miles an hour and I'm panicking, thinking that I'm gonna get raped or be some kind of weird present for her husband, since he looks pretty content with her effort to kidnap me. Get in, shut up, I will hit you. You need ride, be quiet, you come with us. You want to see our house? Very nice, you need ride. I start to cry as she manages to get my torso in the car. My right hand is locked on my phone and she begins trying to take it, and my boyfriend is panicking, telling me the police are sending an officer. She shoves my face into her leather seat. Now my airway is obstructed and she's not letting me go. She's bigger and stronger than me and she knows it. Her whole weight is on me. I try not to panic so I don't black out from lack of oxygen, and all of a sudden I start getting mad as shit. Her husband said something in another language and she lifts one hand up and leans down trying to get something from the front. I immediately use the arms I've been using to push myself off the seat to stab her stomach. She recoils, letting go of me a little, and I headbutted her, tossing my melon back as I scream, fear-stricken and filled with adrenaline. That's my purse, I don't know you. Finally, my boyfriend pulls in. I bolt to his car as the Indian woman is sitting on the ground. After I shut the door, he speeds off towards his house. When we get inside, I break down, babbling about how scared and terrifying it all was and how if I hadn't had the opportunity, she might have taken me to her house and done God knows what. After this incident, the police officer they dispatched got there about 20 minutes after and didn't find anyone. My boyfriend talked to his boss and was granted the ability to leave early for me. I'm still weirded out by cars stalling in the plaza.